Hello everyone and welcome back to science class. I hope you guys had a great holiday, despite, the pandemic and everything. Anyways, we are going to be taking a look at our first lab in the lab. So today we are going to be looking at how different metals react with acid, specifically hydrochloric acid. So we're going to be working with 6 different metals today. We have lead, we have magnesium, we have copper, we have some iron, we have some aluminum, and we have some zinc. So these are all metals that can be found on the periodic table. In your actual lab document, you'll find the periodic table, and you will have noticed that I've highlighted each of those elements on the table so that you know where they are easily without having to look for them. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be taking this test tube, I'm going to be putting in some acid, then I'm going to take one at a time, I'm going to take my metals, I'm going to put them in, put the stopper on, and we're going to watch what happens. Then we're going to take our lighter and we're going to heat up the bottom and we're going to see if anything happens. The last step is we're going to take off the stopper and light a splint and put it over top. And we'll see what happens. So that's the scoop for today. And so, without further ado, let's roll. All right, we're going to take some of our hydrochloric acid and we're going to put it into this test tube. That looks like enough. Put that stopper in for now. Close it up. Now the first metal we are going to react is magnesium. So I'm going to scoop out a couple of filings. I'm going to pour them in and then I'm going to stopper it immediately. And let's watch what happens. I don't need to add any heat to it because it reacted without needing to be heated up or anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and light up my splint and I'm going to do the splint test. Now, pay attention very carefully. And if you listen closely, you might be able to hear the reaction is still happening. So that was testing magnesium. So the next metal we're going to use is aluminum. This isn't a powder, so I'm just going to take some of the powder out. Oops, lost a bit there. I'm going to pour it in. I'm going to stopper it. And let's just watch if anything happens. So we're going to try to see if we can add some heat to the bottom of this to see what that will do. Let's see if that did anything. All right, let's do the lit splint test now. See if we will get anything out of that. That was aluminum. We'll clean up our glassware and move on to the next metal. We're gonna take some zinc metal right now. They're little niblets, little gray colored niblets. I'm gonna take a few, little scoopful. Remember to put them in and stopper it. And let's see what happens. All right, let's try adding some heat to it. Did that do anything? All right, I'm gonna do the lit splint test again. So that was with zinc. I'll clean this up, put in the next one. All right, I've already got my acid in there. I'm gonna use iron next. Iron is a dark gray metal, and in this case, it's little tiny balls, kind of like zinc. So I'm gonna take a few, little scoopful. I'm gonna pour it in and stopper it. And let's see what happens. All right, let's see if adding heat does anything to it. Did that affect that at all? All right, so now we're gonna do lead. Lead is just a bunch of, it's larger bits of metal. We're gonna take a couple and scoop them in. Let's put it on. Bloop. let's just zoom in to see if anything's happening. Let's see what happens if we add a little bit of heat to this. Then we'll do the lit splint test once again. So that was lead. Now the last one we're going to use is copper. Copper comes in kind of shavings. So I'm just going to kind of take one shaving. I'm going to plop it in and put the stopper on, and we're going to see what happens. Let's see if anything happens when we add some heat. We're going to do our last lit splint test. So this was our last one. This was copper. Now it's time to move on to the lab report. All right, when you open up your Lab 3 reactivity of metals, you're going to need to scroll down to your observations table. This is where you're going to mark down your observations based on what you saw in the video that I linked to this assignment. So each metal has its own row, and I want you to write down in the boxes your observations with the acid, with the heat, if there was any, and reaction with your match. If nothing happened, then just write nothing happened. But if something happened, please be as detailed as possible. Then we go to the analysis. So, question 1, based on your observations, write the metals in order of reactivity. I want you to start with the most reactive and end with the least reactive. So basically, you need to make a list. You need to tell me, based on the observations, which metal you think is the most reactive. Then you need to tell me which is the second most reactive, the third most reactive, and so on and so on. So I want you to make a list. Question 2 is I want you to look at the following periodic table. This table shows how reactive different elements are based on their position in the table. The red elements are the most reactive, and the blue elements are the least reactive, with column 8 being completely unreactive. So just take a look at all of these things, and based on this diagram, do you think your response to question 1 is correct? If not, then I want you to rewrite your order of materials down below in this red box here. Question 3, you might have to refer to your notes or visit one of my older videos to kind of get an idea for this. What property of atoms do you think causes some elements to be more reactive than others? And then question 4, which element do you think would be the most reactive out of these two, calcium or manganese? And I want you to explain your answer. So you can go ahead, take a look at where they're located on the reactive table, but I want you to explain why you think they would be more reactive or less reactive. Give me some kind of hypothesis, some kind of guess, or if you know the answer completely, then give me the answer. I want you to explain your reasoning, essentially. So that's all there is for this lab. Good luck, and if you have any questions, I'm only one email away.